Hi, everybody. I'm Robert Davis. I am the director of the Europe Colorado program and also the Ball Cells program at the University of Colorado Boulder, which you see in the background behind me. And I'm also the former dean of the College of Engineering and Applied Science, which sponsors these programs. And here with me is Britta Bergstrom, who will introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm the assistant to the Europe Colorado and the Ball Cells programs as well. I am a student here at the University of Colorado. I am pursuing my master's in civil engineering and also studying education as well.
And while Britta gets a PowerPoint set up, I'll give you a heads up that we're going to talk about these two programs and also have a little Q&A with ourselves at the end. This presentation is on the Europe Colorado and Ball Cells programs. The University of Colorado is here in the foreground, and then the city of Boulder is in the background with the mountains directly behind. Next slide. So we'll start out with, what do you do after graduation? You'll be getting an engineering degree, which means you should be able to get a job. Hopefully the economy will improve soon and the pandemic will magically go away by the time you graduate. Or you can think about learning more, becoming an expert and a leader in your field by going to graduate school. Next slide. So why graduate school in the United States? First of all, an opportunity to travel from Europe to another continent, another society, learn more about yourself, better yourself, and also benefit society. Living abroad is a good experience for all people, and it also will expand your career options. The career opportunities in the United States are really good. Sometimes students stay for a couple of years and work before returning to Europe, and there's very competitive positions and salaries as well. Next. So give a little bit of a historical perspective. It all started with Pete Ball Cells. I'll say a little bit more about Pete, but he's a graduate of the University of Colorado Boulder. He founded the Ball Cells Fellowship in 1996. So Pete's originally from Barcelona, but he moved first to Boulder, to Colorado to do study, and then he founded a company. And the company's in California, and he started the Ball Cells program in 1996. So it's been going on for about 25 years. First at the University of California, Irvine, then at the University of Colorado Boulder, and then the Generalitat has been a partner as well. Unfortunately, the historical funding through the Generalitat and through the Ball Cells Foundation ended this year, but we have other sources of funds which are allowing the programs to continue both in Irvine, in California, and in Boulder in Colorado. Next. So Ball Cells Fellows at the University of Colorado Boulder. So over about the last 10 years, we've had over 50 students come to do graduate work, get their master's degrees and PhD degrees in some cases, and over 50 students come as mobility fellows. They've come for shorter periods of time to do their final project at the University of Colorado. Next. Student opportunities are twofold. One of them is the mobility program. It involves short-term visits of about one semester. So students typically come either from about July, August up and through September, up and through December, or maybe January, or they come in maybe February and stay until about July. And they either carry out their final bachelor's project or their master's degree. And while they're at the University of Colorado, they would explore the possibility of returning for master's and or PhD degrees. The second part of the program is graduate studies, and these are longer term visits. It takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get a master's degree and 4 to 5 years to get a PhD degree, including the master's degree. And so students often return after the mobility program or come directly for graduate studies at the University of Colorado. Next. So I think you know the geography of the globe, but Europe is on the right and the United States is on the left, a little bit west. And Boulder, Colorado is in the middle of the country, and it's right nestled up against the Rocky Mountains. And then California, of course, is way over on the West Coast. Irvine would be in Southern California. And many of you maybe have been to the East Coast where New York and Boston and Washington, D.C. are. Next slide. So Britta's going to tell you a little bit about Boulder, Colorado, as she's a native of a nearby city.
Yeah, so Boulder is home to about 105,000 people, and the city is very much centered around the university, which creates a really fun and young atmosphere. It sits at about 1,600 meters of elevation, so we're pretty high up. And then the Flatirons, which are the mountains that you can see behind me and behind Professor Davis as well, are a little bit higher than that. It's about 40 kilometers from Denver, which is around 30 minutes to an hour drive, depending on if there's traffic or not. And Denver is the capital of Colorado, so it's the bigger city in Colorado. Something really great about Boulder and Colorado is that there are 300 days of sunshine per year. So although we will have snow, like you can see behind me, it typically melts within the following days, couple of days afterwards due to the sunshine. And people really love to take advantage of all that sunshine. So we have plenty of opportunities for climbing and biking and hiking. There's a ski and snowboard resort. The closest one is about 45 minutes away, but then there's plenty others spread out throughout the state. Um, and then we have really great opportunities for cultural activities. There is a walking mall called Pearl Street that people love to hang out at, restaurants and coffee shops, albeit not during the pandemic. And it's a place that I have loved living for the past 6 years. And we hope that you can come and love it as well.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the University of Colorado Boulder. It was founded in the year 1876, which is relatively old for the United States, but relatively new for Europe, of course. That's the same year that Colorado became a state. It's 100 years after the United States was founded. We're a major university. We have about 35,000 students. It's a tier 1 research university with 5 Nobel Prize winners. It's divided up into 8 schools and colleges. The College of Engineering and Applied Science is the second largest of these colleges, and it's the one that hosts the Balcells program. The Balcells program was founded in about 2010, and then the Europe Colorado program is its successor, which started just this year in 2020. And College of Engineering and Applied Science has special strengths in aerospace, bioengineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, which is what you would call telecommunications, environmental engineering, and also material science and engineering and mechanical engineering. Next slide. So the College of Engineering and Applied Science has 9 departments and programs. They're listed here, and they're essentially the ones that I just described. You can come and study in any one of those departments or programs. The college itself has about 5,500 undergraduate students, over 2,000 graduate students, and over 300 faculty members. It's the top ranked engineering school in the entire Rocky Mountain region of the United States. So about a third of the geographical area of the United States. It's the very top school, and it attracts outstanding students, not just from Colorado, but from around the United States and from around the world. Next slide. So a little bit more detail on our 2 programs. First of all, the mobility program. This is the short-term visit, and you can come either as an undergraduate student, usually in your final year, or as a master's student, again, usually in your final year. And you can undertake your final undergraduate project or your master's thesis for 1 term, or what we call a semester, which is typically about 5 months. And you would be in person at the University of Colorado Boulder. Even during the pandemic, we have about a dozen students coming this year. Some of them are here now for the first term, and some are coming after the new year for the second term. The program provides partial funding up to $5,500 or $1,100 a month. That's not quite enough to live on and pay for your transportation, but it goes a long way towards those expenses. And so if you can provide some of the support yourself or be able to get a fellowship on your side, then by all means, apply for the mobility program. Besides a great experience in finishing your project or thesis, it's a great way to explore returning to the University of Colorado for graduate study, and you'll get to know faculty and students and facilities and see what it would be like living a longer term in Colorado. The deadline to apply is the 1st of March for the following year. Whether you want to come in the fall or spring, you should apply by the 1st of March. So for this coming year, you should apply by 1st of March 2021. And there's a website that's listed here that has a lot more information about the program as well. Next slide. The graduate program includes both master's and PhD degrees. As I mentioned earlier, a master's degree in the United States takes 1.5 to 2 years when it includes a thesis, which our programs do. The PhD degree takes typically 4 years to 5 years, including the master's degree. Some students come without a master's degree and get both a master's and a PhD. Other students go directly for the PhD degree. Both degrees involve coursework, usually at the beginning, and then more research at the end. For a PhD, there's also preliminary exams and qualifying exams, and then you would, in both degrees, submit a thesis, and then after your thesis, you would be prepared to go work in industry or in government or in academia. And one thing I wanted to mention in the United States is PhD recipients don't normally go to academia. I think in Europe, the majority do, but in the United States, the majority go to work in industry, either large companies in their research divisions or smaller startup companies and be entrepreneurs. And only a small fraction, 10 or 15%, go on to be professors at universities. So one of the things I want to talk about is the financial support that you might be able to obtain if you were to come for the graduate program. First of all, there's research and teaching assistantships that are available, typically for students seeking a PhD degree. And they provide a monthly stipend of more than $2,500 or more than about 2,000 euros a month, which is enough to live on and to have a little bit left over to maybe go skiing or go home once in a while. Something else to mention is tuition is very expensive in the United States. It's often $30,000 or more a year, but the teaching and research assistantships pay for your tuition. So if you're able to obtain a teaching and research assistantship, it will pay for all of your education and living expenses. Now, if you're a student from Catalonia in Spain, that's where the Balcells program started, and we still have some funding for the Balcells program. And so there are some partial scholarships or fellowships for Catalan students, and they would be supplemented by research and teaching assistantships. And again, there's more information on the website, but typically the deadline's much earlier, that if you want to start your graduate studies in August of, say, 2021, the deadline would be very soon, the beginning of December in 2020. Some programs have slightly later deadlines, but you would need to move quite quickly. Next slide. So here's a timeline. This would be for undergraduate students in their final year or master's students in their final year. So we're making this presentation in November of 2020. You do need to take an English exam like the TOEFL exam or conduct a virtual interview. Probably Britta would perform that interview. And then you would need to complete your application. Again, they would typically be due in December. The university then would make a decision about admitting you to the graduate program and also funding in early spring, February or March. And then our fall term of graduate study starts a little bit earlier than it does in Europe, starts in middle or late August. Next slide. So Britta's going to tell you about a couple of the students who've come to join us in the last few years.
Yeah, so we wanted to highlight a couple of our current students. So the first is Oscar. He's from Barcelona, studied at the University Politécnica de Catalunya en Terrassa. And he came in the spring of 2017 on a Balcells mobility scholarship to complete his TFG, his bachelor's thesis. And he loved it so much that he decided to apply to the Balcells Fellowship and our graduate school here at the university in aerospace engineering. And he completed his master's degree last year, and he's continuing on and is currently a PhD student in the aerospace department. The second student we wanted to highlight is Ilaria, and she is from Italy. And she is here this semester. Despite the pandemic, she came and is here with the Europe Colorado Mobility Scholarship. She is studying in the biomedical engineering department and is applying for the PhD program and plans to start her PhD next fall in fall of 2021. Both these students wanted me to let all of the viewers know that they have had a really fantastic experience here in Boulder and have loved it a lot.
So maybe I'll do a real quick interruption here and just follow on what Britta said. Virtually every student who's come for a short-term mobility experience has loved it. About 90% of them have applied to come back for graduate study because they can see themselves learning more, living in Colorado for 1 or 2 or more years, and then getting an education that will prepare them for the future. I also wanted to back up a little bit and say a little bit more about Pete Balcells, because he's the one who started it all. So Pete was born near Barcelona, or in Barcelona, and then grew up in a small town near Barcelona. And when he was 18 years old, he moved to Colorado in order to go to the university. And he studied mechanical engineering. He graduated in 1952, so many years ago. And when he was a student, he met his wife-to-be named Joan. And she was an American, and the two of them married, and then they stayed in the United States. They founded a company called Ball Seal Engineering. Pete was trained as a tool and die maker starting when he was in Barcelona. And so this company makes little parts that are spring-loaded seals that are used in automobiles and medical equipment and in oil and gas recovery and aerospace equipment and in a whole variety of equipment. And this company, Ball Seal Engineering, has a headquarters in Southern California near Irvine. So that's why the Balcells program started there. And it has a manufacturing facility here in Colorado. And it was recently bought by a major aerospace corporation named Cayman Corporation. Pete still works for the company. He's 92 years old, will be 93 in a couple months, and still works every day except maybe Sunday, and is a fantastic individual. And we owe this program to him. And we also are honored to extend the Balcells program, which has been focused on Catalonia, to the Europe Colorado program to provide opportunities for students throughout Europe. And with that, we'll stop. Normally, we would take questions at this point if we had a live audience, but instead you can email questions to Britta. Her address is there. And Britta is also going to queue up some questions for me to answer on your behalf.
Yeah, so we wanted to, even though we don't have any live attendees, we wanted to share some frequently asked questions. So Professor Davis, the first is, say I'm interested in the mobility stay, or in doing a mobility stay. How do I go about finding an advisor to host me?
Okay, so it's important to know what department you would like to be from or be in. So maybe if you're a chemical engineer, it'd be chemical and biological engineering. If you're an aerospace engineer, or aerospace engineering sciences department. And then look at the website of that department, and you can see the faculty members and their research interests listed. And so you might pick out 2 or 3 or 4 faculty members who are doing projects that are of interest to you. Now, you could email them directly to inquire if they have an opportunity for you. But our recommendation is that you actually email us first. And that way we can give you some insights on whether that person might be available. But also we can make an electronic introduction of you to the faculty member so that they know about the Europe Colorado program and know about this possibility. So look at the website first, and then contact Britta or myself for a recommendation.
And if I were to do a mobility stay, would I enroll in classes?
So normally you would not enroll in classes for 2 reasons. One is that the mobility stay is research focused, and so for your final project or thesis, and that would be pretty much full time. Secondly, if you have formally enrolled in classes, our tuition unfortunately is very expensive, and our program is not able to pay for that. There would be the possibility that you could audit informally a class, and that way you would be able to get the material from the class but not formally enroll in.
Okay. And let's say I'm interested in the PhD program and I don't have I don't have a master's. Should I apply for the master's program?
So you have 3 choices. You could apply for the master's program, and then partway through your master's, you can then apply to continue for the PhD, which is really easy to do. Choice 1. Choice 2 would be you could apply for the PhD program, and then get your master's on the way, which is really easy to do. And choice 3 is you could apply for the PhD program and you could skip over the master's without stopping for it on your way to the PhD. Our recommendation is if your end goal is to get a PhD, or you think it possibly or probably is, apply directly for the PhD program. And the reason for that is there's more financial opportunities, and the departments highly value PhD students, even if you want to get a master's on the way.
And then let's say on the flip side that I'm only interested in pursuing my master's. What are my options or opportunities there?
Yeah, so there certainly would be a good opportunity of applying and getting admitted to our master's program. We do have over 1,000 master's only students at our university. The issue, though, is that there's very little funding opportunity available from the university for master's only students. And so if you have an alternative source of support, then absolutely you can do that. But if you're looking for research and teaching assistantships, or even a supplemental Balcells fellowship, it's best to apply for the PhD program.
Great. Well, as Professor Davis mentioned, if anyone has lingering questions, you're always welcome to email me at the email address provided on the website and also provided in this presentation.
Well, we thank all of you for participating and watching our presentation, and we hope to see some of you in person. And we wish you all the best in these interesting times. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.